for week 7 of my recap in preparation for my standards check, and talking about my reflection on the week and how things are going in preparation for it. So we've had some questions that have come in on the Facebook page, so I'll go through those a little bit later. But I feel this week has been a fairly good week in preparation for the standards check. I'm feeling fairly confident, and I've still got some time to go and a few other things planned to help get me ready. I had Paul watching a lesson this week. So ADI of the year came up to Swindon to have a watch of 2 of my lessons. And that reminded me maybe on the day I am going to feel a little bit nervous in preparation for the standards check, because I felt it a little bit having someone sitting in the back who's an ADI, who's experienced, been doing it a couple of years, and they're going to be watching me and how I deliver a driving lesson. So that was interesting en route to meet him before going to the students. But I think it's really important to be observed, and if you can, observe lessons. The feedback from Paul was good in that I have things to take away and work on. So I really appreciate him coming up, giving me the time to give me some good feedback on areas that I can look to work on as a driving instructor, really. And on reflection from the chats with him, I think there's been a little bit too much focus. It's going to sound a bit weird, but I've been focusing a lot on how I can develop and how I can deliver a better lesson and what skills I can improve and what I can add, and very much about me. And I think I've kind of been overlooking a little bit of what the students are doing and what the students are achieving on the lessons. And it's almost like I could have done this a little bit better, and missing what the students actually done and what the students achieving. So that's something that has changed my focus slightly, is I'm paying attention to the students, but not so much focusing on me. Focus on the learner and what they're doing and how they can improve. So that's been a bit interesting. I can't quite word it, but I guess I've just been too focused on myself and wanting to make lots of changes, and some of them are needed, but I need to remember that our job is to help the learner develop and equip ourselves with the skills so we can do that the most efficient way for the learner. So that was good, having got the feedback from Paul and how he thought the lesson went versus how I thought the lessons went. So that was good, and something to add into my lesson, something that I'm working on now, is scaling. It's something that I don't really use. And Paul gave me some good examples of where that could have been utilized in the lessons. So scaling is something that I've been trying to add into my lessons the last couple of days, and something I'm going to be looking to use at relevant points next week and going forward. And the way I see that with a lot of different things, I guess it's just having more tools in the tool bag to help your learners. So I wouldn't say anything that I'm working on is that's what I'm going to do every lesson and I'm going to use it in every lesson. But if I can have an understanding of it, I can use it for the learners that need it, whether that's scaling. And I've been speaking to Nick about mind mapping. It's not something I've managed to do yet. Oh, we've got Alex has dropped me a message. Hi, Alex. If you want to check out some good reading material, I'm sure he's there for a shout out. Learning to Drive and Lasagna, check it out. But that's enough. Back to the preparation and reflection. So yeah, trying to equip myself with more skills. So scaling, looking at my mapping, potentially putting focus on how the learners learn and how I can best help them. So I found myself giving a few more demonstration drives over the last week or so and really listening to the learner and finding out what they want from me. So yeah, a good outlook on what I'm finding interesting at the minute, although I'm wary of the standards check. I'm not really focused on the competencies. I'm focusing on what I think are the skills of a driving instructor and just looking to develop them, which kind of boils down to, like I've mentioned, equipping ourselves with the skills so that we've got them depending on the student and what they need from us. So that's been my focus really, is what do I need to develop to help this student develop in their own way. So that's been good. I had my engagement call from the examiner that if all things go to plan, we'll be doing the standards check at the end of the month. That was fine. He had a list of questions that he had to go through. Some of them based on the triggers, so the driver faults that I've got, serious faults, pass rate, that kind of stuff. That was interesting. If you've not requested your feedback from the DVSA, I think that's worth doing. I could see patterns in where my students were picking up faults, which has given me a good idea of areas that I need to make sure I'm focused on. So we went through that. A couple of other questions about the type of learners that I work with, CPD that I do, a few other bits, and it was just nice to be able to have that conversation with someone that's going to be watching my lessons, so we're not really going in blind. We get to have a chat with these people and see what's going on. So yeah, that call was fine, relaxed me a little bit in preparation for the standards check. That will change in about 3 weeks' time when the standards check is imminent, I am sure. And what I'd like to go through as well, I've had some questions come in on the Facebook page, as I mentioned. Just had a few more messages come in. And oh, Alex, how's the feedback from your learners since you've started your prep? Can I be honest, Alex? I've not really been asking them. The feedback I'm getting from them is purely about their feelings and the way the drive has gone for them. But that's going on my list. Sorry, guys. Next week, I'll be finding out what my learners are thinking and if they're noticing a change. So that's on my list to do next week. So yeah, I've got some questions from the Facebook page. I will go through them quickly. So Drew asked, what's one thing I'm doing different that's making the most difference? And that's just jotted down, not word for word. But what I've kind of narrowed it down to, I think, is watching the student. I am definitely watching the students a lot more now than I was at the start of my preparation for this. So I'm definitely watching the learners more. And that's really helping with a lot of different things, whether that's noticing faults earlier, whether that's looking at, are we targeting the right thing for the learner at that moment in time? So I would say that's making the biggest difference overall, because everything seems to be falling out of that. So watching my students more. And then Stefan had a follow-on question. So big change since starting the standards check preparation. So a big change I found, and we're going kind of out of the lesson now, is the reflection. That's making a big difference because I can identify areas that I need to work on. So reflection is definitely helping, and I've been more disciplined with that again this week and making sure that I do it after every lesson. So overall, the reflection has really helped. And just a little side one on that as well, being watched, I think that's going to be the biggest difference now over the next few weeks going to the standards check, is getting live feedback from experienced ADIs and trainers. So yeah, that answers hopefully your questions. Watching the student is the biggest difference I've noticed in the car. A lot more has come from that, but watching the student I think is key. And then overall in my preparation is the reflection. That's made a big difference. So that's where I'm at this week. Week 7 done. I will be checking in again next week. So if you've got any questions, either leave it in the comments of this video or head onto the Facebook page and leave any questions on there. And I will check in next Friday. I hope you all have a great weekend. Looks like the weather's going to be good in most places. So go enjoy it, and we'll catch up next week.